Y'all gonna have to excuse me. I know the wind is kind of bad. Y'all can't hear me very well. This is John Scarborough. I'm just gonna make a little video on winter stockpile. It is November the 24th, I think. And we're feeding a little hay depending on what pasture we're in. But the cattle are still grazing quite a bit. And you can see right in here where they're grazing a lot of this down. I mean, you see the difference. I don't know if you can see it or not, but like right here, you know, we've got some grass here, and then right there you can tell it's been grazed off. And that's, I walked out through here on this pipeline, and that's all out here through this. Now in a lot of our pastures, the grass went rank because we didn't have a bush hog to bush hog it, and the way that we had a few enough number of cattle, and the grass was just in such a good growing season this year that it's just stayed ahead of us. We just couldn't possibly stay ahead of it. So if we would have had a bush hog, we could have clipped it and got it back to a vegetative state. But we weren't able to do that. So you can see over here, we got woody grass that has come just right next to it. It's right next to the pipeline. But this is not part of the pipeline, so the pipeline never bush hogged it. So you can see right there, that's some really tall grass, but they have not touched it. And it's the same way in all of our pastures that the grass is like this. So what my point was that I wanted to make was, you can see the difference. There's grass here that has headed out and turned into a wooded state and no longer a vegetative state. And then there's grass over here that's been bush hogged every now and then, but allowed to continue to grow back because I kept my cows off of it, so it wasn't overgrazed, but it was kept at a vegetative state. It wasn't allowed to continue to seed out. And just the difference from that and this, and I don't know how well you can tell it on the camera, but the difference, I mean, I can see the difference very well. It's obvious that they're grazing over here. This grass that has been, they're grazing this winter stockpile essentially, because the grass was never brought to seed. So it still had a vegetative state and it hadn't been allowed to rot. It hadn't rotted out yet. So we still have available forage here. And it's kind of exciting to me because everyone in Louisiana talks about not being able to stockpile because of the amount of rain that we get throughout the winter. But the thing is nobody ever talks about the ability of using this forage before the rain does rot it out. And that's what I'm seeing is that I'm able to do. And I'm feeding some hay, but I'm not feeding near the hay that everyone else is feeding. And it's because of this right here. Because I've got places out here on my property that haven't been, definitely not overgrazed, but also hasn't been allowed to go to a woody state like this. And I firmly believe that if I would have been able to keep every bit of my pastures from going to this, to a woody state, a seeded out state, you know, the boot stage, that all of my pastures, they would do this on. They would eat, they would graze. I mean, you can see the graze line, just like if it was green grass. They're just picking their hay up, and I'm not having to cut it. I'm not having to bale it. I'm not having to do anything. You can see, and that's cut right down there, and this is way up here. You know, they're grazing this, and they're getting fat on it. They're looking good. So anyway, so I just wanted to show this for all of you that are in the south that can winter stockpile because your grass ends up rotting out. You might can still fall stockpile. You might can still put some grass through and gain a month, get a month ahead of you. This is what we're experimenting with, and so far it's working well. Next year we're excited to maybe go a little bit farther with it, stockpile a little bit more, and maybe even carry on into December. But we're going to try it, and we're just going to let y'all keep on following along and see how it works. So anyway, I just wanted to show this video. The main part about keeping this forage good after frost is to not let it be in a woody state when it's frosted. When it frosts, it's just like cutting hay. When you don't want to cut hay after it's already come and seeded out and all like that. Now you can, but it's not going to be nearly as good. The best hay is just before it seeds out. That's the best hay. Well, it's the same thing if you want your grass to be hay on your field. You want it to come just before seeded out, like this was here, and then just before the frost hits, and then it stops growing, it frosts, and it turns it right into hay. And what I'm seeing is it's much more palatable for them, and it's actually a good available forage. The cattle will eat this right here, and it will be decent forage. Decent roughage, but you've got to supplement hay or something with it if you're going to make them eat that. But this right here is not the case right now. This right here is actually good, valuable hay. In fact, I rolled a bale out just the other day, and they didn't touch it. They were out here grazing on this. So I just want to put this video out here for anybody living in the South. This is good news for all of us. So just keep playing with it, and just remember, you use the hay, the stockpile hay. It's the same principle as if you're baling the hay. You want it to get just to that point just before it heads out, before it frosts. So anyway, everybody, thanks, and don't forget to subscribe.